Hello everyone, welcome. Unmute yourself if you're here with me and just click on. See you. Hi. Good. Let me just get so I can see everyone. Those of you that are watching on other platforms, welcome. It's Thursday night here. We're gonna play one live stream in February, this one, and then one more in March, and then that's it for till next year. So thanks for coming today. Sarah is here from California, and Tommy and Marlene from Nebraska. So we got the country represented in different corners. If you are so this is streaming on Facebook as well. If you have a Facebook page with me on it or something, you want to go to my fan page and share it, that probably helps a lot. Probably gets as many people to see it as anything else. And while you're thinking about that, let me play this one for my friend Jeff. I'm not sure if he's heard this before. This is called Woodstock Memories. It's for everybody that thinks that they missed something in the 60s, and this old hippie is telling them they didn't miss nothing. Jenny's grandma went to Woodstock back in 1969. She keeps her tickets stuffed and a chunk of mud at her house in a little shrine. She was always the girl in the hippie dress twirling at the shows by the Grateful Dead. If you ask her about it, man, you better sit down. Grandma will talk the ears right off your head. If you get her talk about the Grateful Dead, the Summer of Love, or the Kool-Aid acid test. Jenny was always in her glory when she could hear the stories from her grandma's hippie friends about peace and love, taking care of one another, how great it all was back then. And at night she would dream of being on the bus with Keezy, seeing Jimmy in 69. But when she wasn't dreaming, she always had that feeling somehow she'd been born in the wrong time. You know you should have been 20 in 1969. Oh, the gray-haired hippies say that all the time. But the cool grandchildren of the cool young women who danced in the Woodstock mud are living on the beach in Montezuma, Costa Rica, having all kinds of fun singing. There's only 1 minute, if you're not living in it, it's never coming back again. I love you, Grandma, but Baba Ram Dass never said, be there then. It's gonna take a big leap of faith if you really wanna find your tribe. Those were the first words that Jenny heard in a song that she found online. And that summer she drove all the way to Minnesota to the Shangri-La Festival. And there they all were, all the people like her, who grew up believing that they were all alone. They said, hey girl, welcome home. Because the cool grandchildren of the cool young women who danced in the Woodstock mud are driving down the road all the way to Minnesota, having all kinds of fun, singing Jimmy and Jerry are dead and buried and they're never coming back again. I love you, Grandma, but Barbara Roundhouse never said be there then. Jenny's grandma went to Woodstock in 1969, and since then she believed there was never going to be a better time, and that's alright. But if you don't take the big leap of faith and get out there and find your scene, it will pass you by while you are trying to find your grandma's long gone Woodstock memories. Her Woodstock memories. While the cool grandchildren of the cool young women who danced in the Woodstock mud are living on the beach in Montezuma, Costa Rica, having all kinds of fun, singing. There's only 1 minute, if you're not living in it, it's never coming back again. I love you, Grandma, but Barbara Roundhouse never said be there then. Thank you and welcome.
All right, Dawn.
Yeah, all right. Well, it's so nice to see you all. Hello, Shannon from New Mexico, and hi, Jill from Pennsylvania. So nice to see everybody here. And of course, we have folks watching on all the different platforms. Let me play one more song, and then we'll chat a little bit. But I'm so glad to see you, and so glad to see that you're all okay. My little rectangles here on Zoom. All right. I've got $300 bills that are all brand new. They are begging me to think of something cool to do. How about I'll take you downtown, spend them all on you. I don't want to stay home tonight. We have worked so hard for so many years, built a home, a life, a family, and 2 careers. Saved our money for the future, now the future is here. I don't want to stay home tonight. I can't stay home again tonight. I can't stay home again tonight. I can't stay home, can't stay home. I need you and me, how it used to be. Every week on Friday night, there is so much history that only we can see. Can't stay home again tonight. Me and Michael, Johnny, Richard, Ruthie, and Joan all had bouts with cancer last year. You know, if cancer was a man, I'd punch him in the throat. I don't want to stay home tonight. 'Cause time isn't sentimental, it doesn't seem to care about your plans or your hopes and dreams. It just keeps track of your minutes and wipes the slate clean. I don't want to stay home tonight. I can't stay home again tonight. I can't stay home again tonight. I can't stay home, can't stay home. I need you and me, how it used to be. Every week on Friday night, there is so much history that only we can see. Can't stay home again tonight. Well, I know we can't party like we did before. Can't stay out till 4 in the morning no more. But the house is paid off and the kids are all grown. What the hell have we been working for? Let's take a nap, take our inhalers, take a multivitamin, and then go out to hear some music with all of our friends who didn't die from the way we used to party back then. I don't want to stay home tonight, 'cause time isn't sentimental. It doesn't seem to care about your plans or your hopes and dreams. It just keeps track of your minutes and wipes the slate clean. I don't want to stay home tonight. I can't stay home again tonight. I can't stay home again tonight. I can't stay home, can't stay home. I need you and me, how it used to be. Every week on Friday night, there is so much history that only we can see. Can't stay home, can't stay home. I can't stay home again tonight. Ta-da.
Whoop.
All right. Well, thank you. So, those of you that are here with me on Zoom, I like to hear you. You have to be careful, you know, but if you want to like unmute and applaud at the end so I don't feel like I'm losing my mind just talking to a screen, that would be great. I see that my friend Neil is here. Brandon, can you put me side by side with Neil? Is he got his video on? Where is he? There he is right there. Neil Braverman, how are you, buddy? Oh, are we gonna go through this again now? We can't hear you. Work on your stuff. So Neil, for those of you that don't know, is one of my dearest friends, and he just had his like I don't know 7,000th surgery recently. And he had open heart surgery, and he popped in from the hospital last month to say hi to us, and I was really concerned about him. I love him a lot, and he beat the odds again. He's still with us and causing trouble. So we'll get his sound going for him, and then we'll come back a little. I want to tell you about some things I'm doing. If you live in Massachusetts, I'm having my 30th time playing at the Bull Run restaurant in Shirley, Mass on March 9th. It's my birthday show. My son's gonna pop in and we'll play together, and Chris and Meredith Thompson and John Svicky and so. I'm looking forward to it. It's a big room and a nice room, and that's in Shirley, Mass, at the intersection of nowhere and nothing, on Route 2A there. So I'm gonna play this song for my friends from Nebraska who asked me to play it last month, and I couldn't remember it, and so I went and practiced it. And this is called "Away from the Sun." September comes subtle, a chill in the breeze. I reach for my sweater. I know what this means. Warm days are not over, but change has begun. Subtle but steady, the world tilts away from the sun. The summer was fruitful, the harvest looks good. Our family prospered like we hoped it would. Our struggles were many, those struggles are done. Come sit by my side while the world tilts away from the sun. Away from the sun. Away from the sun. Most hardly notice, but we know this change has begun. Change has begun. Change has begun. Subtle but steady, the world tilts away from the sun. On a world full of wonder, we spin through the sky, loving, fighting, growing, and wondering why. Well, a big ball of fire above us looks down, shining a warm light upon us as we spin around and around, away from the sun, away from the sun. Most hardly notice, but we know this change has begun. Change has begun. Change has begun. Subtle but steady, the world tilts away from the sun. Let's spend all the money on laughter and song. Let's dance with these bodies till these bodies are gone. And when it's all over, you will know it is true. My life only had meaning 'cause I got to share it with you. September comes subtle, a chill in the breeze. I reach for my sweater, I know what this means. Warm days are not over, but change has begun. Come dance with me while the world tilts away from the sun.
Here, take it off.
Oh, beautiful. That's a pretty one.
Hey,
Beautiful.
love that,
Yeah, we never heard that one.
love that song.
Oh, you can hear Neil now.
Can you hear me now?
I can
Yes.
hear you. All right,
That,
so
well, that's thanks to Sarah. Thank you, Sarah.
so here it is, Neil, the man that the Grim Reaper cannot get his hands on. There he is, right there. Neil Braderman, recovered now from open heart surgery, right, Neil?
That is true. This week, yeah.
Wow.
New plumbing, new
New plumbing, the whole thing. I had my post-op test doctor appointment today, and the ticket's still ticking, so I'm good.
You know, Neil, I love you. I was so worried about you, but I'm so glad you're here. And let me play this song for you. It's called what's it called? That's that song that you asked me to play last week. Winning streak. Neil's on a winning streak.
Go. I love it.
Right? And so I practiced this one too. Last month, I was just bluffing through that thing. But now I'm gonna play it, and this is for Neil because he's on a winning streak. He's beating the odds, and this is also for everybody who's fighting for representation at the table these days. Which there's quite a lot of it. I was just in Detroit recently, just after the union won a big victory out there, and I think it's time now for workers to have a voice at the table. Is that too much to ask, really? All right. So this is when I worked for ADT, and we were trying to vote at union in over there, and I wrote this way back then, and we did actually succeed. If anybody cares about it, won by 2 votes, two votes, and they told us if we, that they're, you better hope it wins because we know who you guys are. From a tax shelter offshore, some kid said my job had been eliminated. He said, thank you for your service and for working so hard. Blah, blah, lie, lie, half truth, blah, blah. He expected me to be petrified, get in the fetal position and start to cry. But I just kept thinking that he was underestimating me. Cause my team is on a winning streak. We haven't lost a game all week. Underestimated people are hard to beat. My team is on a winning streak. Every 2 years some brand new guy calls a big meeting to tell us why things will get a lot better now that he's in charge. Blah blah, lie lie, half truth, blah blah. And all the working people try not to grin while we're hearing these promises again. Nothing gets better, 2 years go by, and then we're sitting at a meeting with a brand new guy. My team is on a winning streak. We haven't lost a game all week. Underestimated people are hard to beat. My team is on a winning streak. I said what you did to me just wasn't right, so I hired a lawyer and I planned to fight. He said, you are so adorable. He patted my head and he closed the door. The greatest gift they gave to me was to not take me seriously. Cause anything can happen, it can happen fast. When no one believes that you have half a chance. From a tax shelter offshore, some kid said my job had been eliminated. But I just kept thinking that he was underestimating me. Cause my team is on a winning streak. We haven't lost a game all week. Underestimated people are hard to beat. My team is on a winning streak. There you go, Neil. Welcome back.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
That was awesome, Don. Thank you so much.
Thank you for not dying there, Neil. My birthday's coming up. The best birthday present so far. You get the prize for the best birthday present. So some of you have heard this story that I'm going to tell now, but I've been working on it. I'm going to go down to Tennessee and do a week of storytelling in June. So I'm practicing these, and this is a sort of a newer story. And let me talk about storytelling for a minute. It's different than songwriting. It's different than all that stuff. The first, I would say, 10 times that you tell a story, that I tell a story, I'm really just trying to make sure that I don't miss any of the components that need to be placed in it so that it pays off at the end. And you can see sometimes when I'm doing a story when it's new that I'll remember 3/4 of the way through that I forgot something, then I'll backtrack and stick it in, and then, otherwise it doesn't pay off, and it's a house of cards otherwise. But after about 10 times or so, you get so that you don't have to think about that anymore, and that's when it starts to fly. Because the growing process for a story that you tell live is in the telling of it. And so when you're not dividing your attention between telling the story and trying not to forget anything, and you can just concentrate on telling the story and entertaining, and then you're free to expand the story. And often they start out like this one. I'm not sure how long it is, but they start out like 7 or 8 minutes long. But through this process, after 100 times of telling them, they take up the whole second set of a show, and then they die under their own weight. And then what I do then is I put them in the junkyard and I use them as parts cars. Do you know what I mean? When I'm writing another story, I'll grab something some section of it that can stand on its own, and it's funny, and I'll wedge it into this new story as like a placeholder while I'm trying to figure out what works in it. So now my old stories that were 30 minutes long and all that, a lot of them I'm using them for parts now. I'm not sure if anybody's interested in that, but I just want to talk. I just like talking. All right, so here, water for the storyteller. There you go. I quit drinking and doing other things that I shouldn't be doing. Not everything that I shouldn't be doing, but things are going across my lips and up my nose, those kind of things like that, and into my lungs. I quit doing all that stuff in 1990. And so in 1989, I was at the peak of my powers. I was as good as I was ever going to be at keeping alcohol crossing my lips during my waking hours. And in 1989, here in the great city of Lynn. My wife and I were driving to a town called Nahat, over by the ocean, and we were going to a wedding. And on the way over there, I said, "Do you know anything about the groom?" And she said, "No, we knew the bride, but we didn't know the groom." She goes, "The only thing I know about him is that he was barred for life from Frank's Bar in Lynn." And I slammed the brakes on and just stopped on the causeway and stared at the ocean because that was the most amazing sentence that I had ever heard in my life. I never heard a sentence so unexpected and so unbelievable in my life. Because at that time, the peak of my powers, when I was never going to be better at consuming things I shouldn't be consuming, I had dedicated decades to it, and I was as good as I was ever going to be. I hung around at Frank's because it was the wildest, most dangerous, and most exciting, fun place to be for persons of that persuasion, right? Persons whose sole goal was to make sure that they were at the, I was like among the elites in that, right? And I could not believe. I just thought to myself. I started going through in my mind all the things I had seen in that place. So like, just think about this. It was the most dangerous bar in Lynn, Massachusetts. What? That itself is an accomplishment beyond comprehension, really. Like in a city full of really dangerous bars, this was the most, right? And I loved it there. It was great. All my friends were there, and it was wild. You had to have eyes in the back of your head when you were there, but it was fun. And I started going through a list in my mind of all the insane things I had seen in that place, and I broke them up into categories, like the most insane, the most felonious, the most obscene, the most ridiculous, the most violent, and I was cross-referencing the most violent with the most insane, and finally I just blurted out to my wife, "What in the name of God would you have to do to get barred from Frank's?" Like I couldn't believe it. Like the guy, like there were bullet holes in the walls and people dispensing various and sundry pills and powders with impunity there, and the guy who shot the bullet holes in the wall, he didn't get barred. He was sitting right there. He was at the wall, right? So this guy in my mind became the most amazing possibility of a human being that I could ever conceive of. I couldn't really conceive it. I kept trying to picture what he would look like. What would someone look like a bard from this place? Like I pictured like a guy with like horns and maybe like fangs with blood dripping off him, something like that, right? So normally, like at a wedding, my thing is go eat something and get out. Go to Frank's. But I was gonna enjoy every minute of this one because I just had to see this guy. I was curious. So we went to the wedding, then we went to a reception at like a yacht club. And so the bride's name was Donna, and she had two sisters, Dolores and Deborah. And Donna and Dolores were stunning. They were so beautiful. They looked like they had walked out of a magazine. You just couldn't take your eyes off them when they were dancing and all that. And their sister, Deborah, the third one, she was born with a severe medical condition, like a bone problem and a neurological problem. And she never left a wheelchair her whole life. Her legs were curled up like this underneath her body. They never really straightened out unless you pulled on them, right? And the muscles in her neck had long ago abandoned the job of keeping her head up, so she kind of saw the world this way on the slant like this. And I was looking at her. She was in a wheelchair in like a purple dress by the side of the dance floor in this yacht club, and I was just thinking about her, like because she's kind of looking around the room. The way she saw the world was kind of with her head slanted and her mouth was kind of open like that, and her eyes were watering, and she just would look around like this, like that. And I was just looking at her, and I knew some things about her. I knew that she couldn't talk, but she could tell you when she was happy. Like we set my son in her arms when he was just born, and she gave us this big open mouth smile that would just rip your heart out. So beautiful. And then when she was unhappy, which she was a lot because she was frustrated, and you can imagine why, she would make this like wounded animal sound that would just chill you to the bone. And I'm just looking at her and I'm thinking her body had abandoned her, but her mind had not. She knew everything. Her mind was perfect. And she watched her two gorgeous sisters mark every one of their steps, important moments in their life, from being young women to young from being kids to young adult women. First date, first prom, putting the dress on, twirling, limousine coming to pick you up to bring you to the prom, people calling you up, hey, I got to see you tonight. First boyfriends, all that. And she saw all that and and knew that wasn't going to happen for her. She knew that. And I was just looking at her and just thinking about this. Just thinking about, I don't know what, just picturing that all. So at the end of the reception, the DJ plays a waltz. It's a Engelbert Humperdinck song, and it's like this, a waltz, like 1 2 3, 1 2 3, like that. And people are getting ready to go, but everyone's still there. And from out of the corner, a group of men, here comes the groom, and he walks across the dance floor in front of us like this. And he didn't have fangs or anything like that. He was handsome. Maybe he was the best looking guy in the whole place. He was tuxedoed and clean shaven and well built, and just the king of the prom. And he walks right past us, pretty empty dance floor, and he goes over to Deborah and he puts his hands underneath her arms and he pulls her up out of the wheelchair and carries her like this. And her legs never opened up. She probably, from top to bottom, she was 22 at this time. She was this high because she was just kind of bent, like this. And he brought her on the dance floor and he danced with her. And the audience is gobsmacked. We know we're seeing a miracle. This is a miracle. What's a miracle in your life depends on where you're seeing it from, right? So we knew it was a miracle, but from where she was seeing it from, there was never going to be. This was her 4 minutes of her life where she was the belle of the ball. She was, and he had his back to us, so her head was right here, like this, and so all we saw was her face looking at us like this, right? And because her head was against his head, it wasn't tilted; it was straight. And because her chin was on his shoulder, it wasn't open. Her mouth wasn't open. It was closed. And you just had to squint your eyes just a little bit to picture her as a perfectly healthy 22-year-old woman with, strong, beautiful legs, who kicked off her shoes in this purple dress and was dancing with the best looking guy in the place. And for these 4 minutes, which were the only 4 minutes, she didn't live another year, right? So she had these 4 minutes in her life to be the belle of the ball, the queen of the prom, in my mind, the most beautiful woman in the world, and I suspect perhaps in her mind as well. So we're just watching this, and I'm thinking about things. I'm thinking about the table next to us had 7 people who were the most beautiful people you'd ever see in this world, just like angels, social workers who take care of the weakest among us, teachers who go through all the crap that teachers have to go through just to because they know every year they're going to take one kid, they're going to save that kid, and that kid's going to have a chance. And clergy, the kind of clergy that make it impossible for old cynics like me to deny the fact that if you go into that business for the right reasons, it's one of the most noble things you can do in this world, to feed the hungry, to comfort the sick, all that, right? And there they were, the most beautiful people that you'd ever meet. And they would have done anything for Deborah. If you said she needs 20 grand for a new wheelchair, they would have wrote the check out, even if it meant missing a house payment. And they probably thought, each one of them, I should probably give this kid a dance for once in her life, right? But they learned the lesson that all functioning adults learn in this world, and that is to think before you act. So they have the thought to do it, but then they think, what if I hurt her? She's so fragile. What if I get her on the dance floor and she makes that bone-chilling wounded animal sound? And they decide the reasonable thing not to do it. So at Frank's at that time, the one thing that everybody there had in common was impulsiveness to a criminal degree. Do you know what I mean? Like, see the money, take the money, don't think about it, right? See the keys in the ignition, steal the car, crash the car, don't think about it.
Love it.
Yeah, so I'm not saying that that's a good thing. It actually is a horrible thing. If you love somebody who's criminally impulsive, your life is chaos. You're always getting phone calls from car crashes and police stations and emergencies room, and this guy's trying to kill me. I owe him $1,000. You know, your life is ruined. If you ask me and Deborah, do we want a life full of chaos? We would both say no. But we would both add to that, the only thing we don't want more than a life of chaos is a life with no miracles in it. Okay? So this was a miracle, and it was only happening because there was a reckless, impulsive person there. Okay? That's the only reason it happened. He wasn't thinking, what if I hurt her? He's like, let me dance with this girl, give her he just did it. Now, if you looked at a pie chart of his life, of everything in his life, you would everything would be chaos, and there'd be this one sliver there of this good thing. Mostly the impulsiveness in his life just ruined everything. Really, I think. So anyway, I'm not saying it's good. I'm just thinking about all of this, right? And then I was thinking, if you have that, if you're impulsive to that degree, criminally impulsive, you have to kill that part of yourself if you want to have a life, or you don't want to torture the people you live with, the people who love you. You have to kill it, or sedate it, or bore it to death with therapy, or something. You have to deal with that part of your personality. And I was just thinking while I was seeing how beautiful she looked, what if instead of killing that part of yourself, you could imprison it, right? You could put it in jail, like open the jail cell. Put that part of you in there, close the thing, you stay here. And then maybe once in your life, you put the key in your pocket, and once in your life or twice, you go down there and you open the door up and go, look, I need you for 4 hours. and after that, you have to go back in here, because we know what happens when you're allowed to run free, and you let that part out. They create the miracle that no clergy would be capable of doing, and only takes a reckless person to do, and then you put it back. So I'm having these sort of half insane thoughts while I'm watching this scene. And then there's one chorus left in the song. He walks in front of us and we can just see her head, and he goes over to her wheelchair and he puts her in it, and he kisses her on the forehead. And then the most beautiful woman in the world watches the man who was barred for life from the most dangerous bar in a city full of incredibly dangerous bars disappear into the crowd. I had the last waltz with you. Two lonely people together. I fell in love with you. The last waltz should last forever.
That's
Oh my
beautiful,
gosh.
Dawn. That was so beautiful.
Oh my
Yeah.
goodness.
Thank you.
Thank
You so much, Dawn.
Wonderful.
I love
Very
that.
nice. Yeah. And that's how it's done.
Yeah.
That's right. I love it.
The worst comedy show in the history of the internet.
No.
I thought you said this guy was funny. What the hell was that? Well, thanks for that. So I just want to, like, my friend Amy is here. She knows, she's familiar with the storytelling world that, and it's influenced me. Like I always in my stories when I was only playing for local people here, I would always default to comedy. So now I feel that the liberty to be able to put comedy in the middle or in the beginning and not have to wrap everything up with comedy because I found this audience, this national audience that is as interested in the poignancy or the turning of the story as they are with humor. And so it's been very freeing for me and exciting. It's hard for me to get excited about things now. You know, I've been doing it so long, but I'm excited to write like that. You know, to write where I can be funny in some parts of it, and then just say something that I think is interesting. So thank you for listening. So let's see. I'm gonna do one more song, and then I'm gonna have my friend Dave Somerset take up our poets corner today and do maybe 8 minutes or so like that, and then we'll take a little break. If you can throw a few bucks my way, that would be great. I have to pay Brandon, who's the best live stream technician on planet Earth. Just so you know, you're being taken care of. All the reason that I can hear all you and it's not, it doesn't sound like the 12th level of hell here is because of Brandon. So let me play this one song, and we'll get Dave up here, and we'll see where we go from there. I'm gonna send this one to my friend Sarah, who I love as much as you can love, not somebody that lives in California. She walked into the room like she was walking off a cliff. In my mind I said, what kind of shattered angel is this? Her walk said, I've surrendered. In her face, I've had enough. Her eyes were holes, they were dark and cold. They said, I've given up. I saw an angel in pieces, as if the pieces all fell from the sky. I said in my heart, I believe this sad angel someday will fly. Fly. You know, life rains down so hard upon some people that we know. It tears their faith and their hope away, and they walk around like ghosts, and we see them as they are breaking, and as their spirit dies, but deep inside we still believe they will come alive and fly. I saw an angel in pieces, as if the pieces all fell from the sky. I said in my heart, I believe this sad angel someday will fly. Fly. Now she walks across the room like she could walk across the sky. And those old dark eyes are so alive, they set the room on fire. This is no shattered angel, I say to myself. I feel Zuzu's petals, I hear one small bell. I saw an angel in pieces, as if the pieces all fell from the sky. I said in my heart, I believe this sad angel someday will fly. I saw an angel in pieces, as if the pieces all fell from the sky. said in my heart, I believe this sad angel someday will fly. Look how beautiful you are. There you go.
Thank you,
Beautiful,
Dawn.
John.
Beautiful.
Beautiful.
It's
So
beautiful,
beautiful.
Dawn. Love that song.
Love that one.
Love it, Dawn. Thank you.
We love that song.
You're
We all
welcome. Yeah, that song has been great to me through the years. I'm working up a version of it with 2 vocalists and a violin to play at the Bull Run here pretty soon, so it gets big, that song. So thank you, everybody. So now, for those of you that are new to this, we did this every Thursday throughout COVID, and it really created a sense of community and a place of connection because it's interactive to some degree here. Those of you that are in the Zoom part, at least we can talk to each other and hear each other. And over time, after the beginning of it, I just thought, well, now that I have this audience every Thursday who probably would never come to Lynn or be around here, a lot of them from different parts of the country, let me introduce them to people that I know that I think are interesting. So briefly, in my world, everybody that stands on stage suffers from the same disease. And that is, they think they have something to say, right? That's the disease, right? But they all bring different skills to it. And so in my life, I didn't understand why folk singers only hung around with songwriters and folk singers, and comedians only hung around with comedians, and storytellers with. I just felt like they all brought different tools to the same job. Bring comedy, bring storytelling techniques, bring music, all that. So I feel at ease in all the communities, and I have learned from them all. I've studied all the different ways that people communicate by themselves, especially on stage. And to that end, I started a spoken word open mic, like a poetry open mic in Lynn, Massachusetts. If you've never been there, it is the most unlikely scenario. And people told me I was out of my mind, actually, to do it. That city had never had a listening room in it ever. Nobody even knew what that was, but we did it, and it's still going now. And so, and it was built for people who didn't have another place. If your life was too messed up that you just couldn't behave right or whatever, we would take you in and try to control you and give you a place where you could find your voice. And for kids who were, having trouble, and everybody. And I'm really proud of it. And I stopped doing it, Tony Toledo and I think 8 years, it was 8 years that we did it, but it was taken over by Dave Somerset, and he's still running it to this day. It's Wednesday nights, it's called Speak Up, and you can watch it online. Maybe Brandon, if you can find the Speak Up online Zoom thing, I'm sure you could find that. We can put that in the chat for people to want to pop in. You can actually read from wherever you are at this open mic that I started with Tony Toledo, I think 13 or 14 years ago. So he's here, and I just wanted to introduce you to him. He's a lovely man, and he writes beautifully. So please welcome my friend Dave Somerset. There he is.
Thank you. Thank
Hey,
you.
Dave, nice to meet you.
Thank you.
All day.
Great to
Thank
see
you, Dawn. We've always enjoyed interacting with you, and you started a wonderful thing. So I try not to, as you coached me at the beginning, I try not to mess it up. Good. It was good advice. And I want to introduce my fan club in the background, my wife, Marsha.
Hi, Marsha.
Yeah. She's also a big fan of Dawn's as well. So let me start off, if I may, with a poem by a friend of mine who unfortunately has passed away. And Melissa Van Arvis, who was just the loveliest person and a wonderful writer and human. This is called Little Lessons. We name him Little Buddha as he floats on an inner tube on the surface of the swimming pool, wearing a t-shirt that's too huge for him. He is smiling. Later, he'll miss a grandmother that he never knew. And every year on his birthday, he'll hide in his room and cry. Nobody knows why. He'll draw chalk houses for the dead cat buried now beneath the flower bed to live in. And one night he'll dream of Jesus, bringing out all the people who live under the stones. He'll dream that the cat came back too. On the way home from somewhere, someday, he'll say, let's start time over and go back to the beginning. And if we knew how, we'd turn the car around and start it all over again. Instead, we drive on, watching the snowflakes like lotus petals, smearing the windshield with nectar.
Oh, beautiful, Dave.
Oh,
Woo!
thank you.
Very nice. Thank
Melissa Vanavis, no longer with us, unfortunately. And yeah, wonderful.
What a beautiful poem, Dave. Thank you.
Well, I'm happy to share it. And her book will be out one of these days. She never got around to writing a book while she was still with us. So some of her friends are putting it together, and it'll be out, and I'll try to share more with when it comes out. And Dawn, you talked about some of the characters that show up and part of our growing up, your growing up, and this is dedicated to some of them and us. It's called Underdogs. There are not a lot of applicants waiting to get in, but we know who we are. Late bloomers, underachievers, wallflowers, eccentrics, geeks, and dorks, large visible chips on shoulders, backs, and in our heads. Maladjusted misfits, much maligned and always underestimated. Irresistible forces that can never be stopped by immovable objects. We have IEPs, ADD, OCD, a diagnosis, and meds. Origins of dysfunctional families, fractured families, and no families. Living in brains, hearts, and minds, not in the world of rejection. Greatly flawed and broken, and that is our superpower. Our identity, art, and creative drive. We can do the impossible. We are impossible.
Oh, beautiful, Dave.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Let me see. Okay, this goes out to a fellow I actually met at the Walnut Street Cafe. I only know him for a little while, but he was one of those characters that you can't help but fall in love with because it just was a wonderful character. But anyway, here goes. This is for Joe. Requiem for the Reckless. Fearless friend, artist, builder of tats, brick, and wood. Charismatic, chaos cool. 30 seconds to Mars without looking. Chances taken with no chance. Swerving, racing, and raging. 100 miles an hour through the windshield. Landing alive. At home in the wreckage. And on and on. Plenty of Herbalife. Vacation in the joint. Father and mother dying young from fathers and mothers dying young. Demon wars lost on edges. Burning tree in a forest fire. Among the stars and in. Brilliant light to ember end. Crescendo resolve with numbing din. Destiny extinguished with a single needle. In his wake the wind, and saying goodbye, our loss.
Oh, beautiful, nice.
Beautiful, Dave.
Wow.
Beautiful.
Very
Thank
nice,
you.
David.
Okay, we have time for one more, Dawn, or is that?
Yes. Yeah, go ahead,
Okay,
Dave.
we'll do one more. Okay, I want to share this with you because this is a recent one I did with MP as a prompt, and this one's called Climate Change. The world has become greatly alarmed about physical climate change, but what we need is a different kind of climate change. We need space to breathe between the lines, to let the sunshine into our paragraphs, guilt-free clauses with no fault expression. The last thing I need is to be surrounded and encapsulated by those who agree with me. I need everyone, with their crackpot, half-baked ideas and irrational threads. Give me freedom from conformity, cancellation, and censors. I need individuals and groups that hunger for what is different and amazing about each other. We are not carbon copy checkboxes of canned enlightenment and virtue. Real people are diverse, not in the trivial sense of pigmentation, gender, and geography, but in the robust sense of character and ideas It's all about ideas, ideas, ideas. Surround me with confusion, contention, and contrarians, with dangerous ideas. The real danger is in withholding, censoring, and distorting of ideas, not in their truthful expression. I want to be a new type of idealist. Thank you.
Oh, beautiful.
Yes.
Dave.
Thanks,
Thanks so much, Jay. Good,
All right. Well, thank you very much.
That was
Thanks,
awesome.
David.
Thank you, Don.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can you put us side by side just for a second, Brandon? So, Dave, I just want to thank you, not just for that great reading, but for all you're doing. I don't think that, like, Dave is a Lynn guy, enough so that it damaged his perspective and the world. But we have this thing in common where, they had asked me, Dave, I don't know if you know this, to move, speak up to Beverly one time. Beverly, Mass is a, town that's doing a little better than Lynn over there. And I said, they have resources there. I want this to be here where it's needed. And the fact that you get that the people that make it difficult because they don't have it together, they're the ones that have the magic in them. If you can contain them, if you can get them, get them in a position where they feel respected and they feel worth. And it's something that you and I have in common, and the fact that you continue that aspect of speak up, that you're embracing the misfits there, it means a lot to me. It's a legacy now. And so thanks a lot, Dave. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Don. And good to see everybody. Thank you.
Yeah, Don, so well said, Don and Dave. Such a great time. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. So let's take a little break. If you couple minutes, I'm gonna just go splash some water on my face and get something to drink. There's different ways to throw me a couple bucks. You have Venmo and YouTube, and if you want. I've decided that it's a bad idea for me to throw my address into the internet, and so we'll do that. And I'd appreciate that because I have to pay Brandon. Throw us a few bucks, that would be great. If you don't have any money, if you're broke, don't worry about that. And we'll play this thing out. Thank you. to be in Tennessee for a week. I'll be in Jonesboro, Tennessee, doing something called the Teller in Residence, which means I play every day for leave. And there's going to be at least one evening show and some other things then too. So that I wrote because my dad kept looking at my report cards and telling me I was going to be a lumper the rest of my life, and I didn't know what that meant. But then when I was construction crew, as the guy carrying the crew someday, I said, Dad, what's a lumper? I was laughing so hard, rolling on the floor. Dad, no one uses words like a lumper anymore. The guy, you keep doing the thing that you are doing. If these things that you home, you know the time went by. Next thing I know, I'm 31, I'm drinking with a bunch of 19-year-olds. What a loser, man, what a loser. You are doing, don't do you in. Those pallets aren't gonna move themselves, lumper. I wound up in the program, I know that's no surprise. I make you keep on doing. If these things that you are doing don't do you in. We're saving you a seat at the meeting, a job lumping on the crew. Seat at the meeting, a seat at the meeting. Hi, I'm Don. I'm out. There you go.
Hey, John, I love that song. Great.
Oh man, I've been performing at the biggest sober festival. I think it's like fun to do those things and to support people that are support people that are. Anybody want to hear anything? Do you know who I am or why you're here? Or and she started to cry. She looked at us with such terror in her eyes. She said, I have raised these children reward for all that I've been through. Is this dog as dumb as mud? And you tell her how incredibly lucky she is. And I said, who's gonna love you any better than this? We'll wake you up, howl for you. Ow! And that's cool. Move away, but dogs and husbands, that's who stays. To you it seems like a big trick of fate, but me, both real true. There's another thing about us that is very cool. If you scratch us on our well, okay, so maybe we ain't that smart. We're a couple of months. This dog is dumb as mud. This dog is dumb as mud. There you go.
Woo! Yeah.
If you want to talk about songwriting for a minute, so many fans from the headliner as possible. So I wanted my set to be as good as I could do it, And I was thinking maniacally, I really don't want to be sitting around waiting for inspiration. I have for what's going to come in the story. It should foreshadow a little bit of what's going to come to sort of convince you to continue to cram as many of my tricks into one song as possible, like flirting and my sense of humor, the fact that audience over to your side and they came to see someone else and they're not that interested in you, and you have to put your best foot forward. Also, she made me follow her. She wouldn't let me go on first, and so I learned to have that killer instinct at the beginning there, and it was helpful, so anyway, that's a little backstory on that. I'm gonna sing this song, which I never sing hardly ever, and this is my wife does like this one. And hang on a second. Yeah. So this is a piece of artwork that a fan gave that ever happened to me in my stage life. It's like calligraphy and beautiful, and I just saw her again recently. It just happened to be in my my office here because we're down in such misery, with the horizon behind him, darkness, but covered in light. They come in the spring, and when you're your heart was in darkness and you were alone. We see a woman in danger of a life without dream can see. Is this a mountain of a bird with wings? And I would dress you in the colors. And when your heart is in dark and wings to carry you home, and this face in my mirror is constantly changing. Is the hand that belongs to the person it's. If I am the painter, and when my heart is in darkness, and I am alone, paint sunshine around me home.
Beautiful, John.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Thanks for making all our nights.
To maybe teach more, and mostly I teach people how not to be boring in between. Some concert promoters out there, and that's something. But eventually, it gets around to songwriting, and that song really could be reduced to a me. But figuring out a way to say something that everybody understands, in a some truth that's out there in the world, and we're just expanding on it, and that's kind of the job, is to figure out how to say something in a way that here's something here that probably nobody would think to say, and it doesn't, it's fantastic value, no significance, nothing deep about it. It's really Alaska and all that. Is we picked fruit, and we picked pears in Washington State, and we had a dog with us because picking up so he needed a a minivan to pick us up, but we did just fine. It's just as far away from that last song as I could possibly get, I think, really, as far as you are new to this. I know it's weird to hear people laughing. I want to feel like I'm connected somewhere in this world. So this is something we all got used to over the internet there during COVID. And so on the ride home, I couldn't bring myself to look at him. No dissertations on the long-term benefits of neutering.
Yes.
No dissertations on the long-term benefits of neutering were going to alter his understanding. He was thinking, look me in the eye, you bastard, you Claudius, you Iago. I keep going down to lick my junk, and guess what? No junk! Where is my junk? Today, an unleashed, unneutered dog on the street. 70s, they were everywhere. In the 70s, they were everywhere. All the fruit tramps, which is what we pickers were affectionately called, we all had dogs, and Elijah was the only female. She chose this extraordinary. Elijah was in the market for a suitor. I looked down from the top of a ladder, and I saw a motley full of her hand. I considered them all unworthy of even the slightest consideration. Everything you will ever need reasoning with them. Pleading about future, no amount of pleading or explaining about the future. That evening, our shack was besieged by a horde of incurably infatuated boy dogs. They encircled our occasional reciting of a sonnet. We took a pair of my underwear, briefs, not boxers, pulled them over Elijah's two rear legs, and then slid her tail through the little pee hole that no one ever uses. Transformed into a surrealist dreamscape that featured all man object of his desire to collect his hard-won reward, only to be denied the ultimate satisfaction by Elijah's low. We were pleased.
Oh, that's great.
Woo!
All right, boys and girls. After that powerful piece of thoughtfulness, he's got a new album, and then after that, we'll. I want I want to do this while we're still streaming out, and then if anybody wants to hang around after that, we'll have a after party here. Forums. Thank you so much on watching on Facebook and on YouTube. You're welcome to come over here if you like. I lost my mind. Well, I really didn't lose them. I know exactly where Lady May is 82. She's having more fun than me and you. All she wants to do is laugh and sing. She's the biggest flirt I ever had. More alive, waiting on the other side. So many sad goodbyes in a long and well-lived life. I was crying like a baby. I thought the pain might kill me. And Betty said, son, you gave how many loved ones I buried. We're going to laugh again. I lay around and watch bad TV till this feeling comes over. Favorite song, dance around my living room like I did when I'm more alive, waiting on the other side of all the sorrow. There are so many sad goodbyes in a long days, but when you're ready to come out and play, you'll come see Betty May, and we'll put the music on and play your B-side. Not only will you survive, you're going to be more alive on the other side of all the sorrow and the trouble. More alive. There are so many sad goodbyes in a long you. Thanks, everybody.
Beautiful, Dawn.
Thank
Beautiful.
you.
Thank
That's
you.
Masha's favorite.
Love it. Yeah.
Well, I know how lucky I am to have been doing this and working with Christine Lavin actually just made this more made me feel more like this, because she's really a good example of this. I asked Dave to come and read, and I really wanted you to see that him, fantastic fella. There he is right there.
Hey.
He's coming to us from New York City, but he lived in Salem when I first saw his friends, and they were all very talented. Actually, I was really impressed with all of them. But Jeff is, and Brandon, if you have his information, can you put it in the chat so people can pick up his record and all that stuff, right? So Jeff,
It's good to see you. Great, everybody's been. I mean, it's been awesome.
everyone's gonna love you, man. Don't worry about it.
Just pretend you're the headliner. Then you won't have to think about it.
David, I loved your. It's the album is called Curse Words, and actually in Beverly, called Free Radicals Productions, and then I did an awful lot of it here, just at home. And the album, it's very hard to see. It looks a lot, and then the inside has, where the record is. And then it covers the whole thing, and there's so it's
Let me just make sure I got this straight.
with handwritten, and that's what happened, and it took
Say anything like it's a novel idea.
Thank you. Anyway. I've talked too much. I'm gonna play a goddamn song. So this is a song. If that's okay. If not,
Yeah, go ahead.
okay. I saw enough people nodding. Goddamn, I can see a shell. Goddamn, melodramatic. Maybe yes, but I'll be less so when I'm clean. Do you love me, love me, love me, love me better when I curse? Or when I quote a right? Love me, love me, love me, love me better when I curse. I'll be just your kind of jerk, for to be safe when this gets worse. Oh hell, fuck it all. I think Batavia's for some underneath this melodramatic tree. Do you love me, love me, love me, love me better, sir, when I swallow my words? Do you love me? Do you love me?
Beautiful.
Wow. Woo.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That was awesome.
That was freaking
Great
awesome.
job.
Awesome.
Oh, has that been awesome?
Yeah.
Thank you. And thank you. It's another depressing one. The record, by the way, you know, it's religious trauma and all sorts of really, you know, not happy stuff. So I'm not selling it very well here, but whatever. I'll play the song.
I'll
I know
buy
someone who needs it right now, though. I think.
Yeah, I know I do. My coins are worthless down on the surface. I've been hiding out up in a cloud. Floorboards shake with every move they make down there. And I've been lying down, I've been lying down, and I'm staying there. Someone, something left the skylight open. Water made its way down inside. Something left the skylight open. Water made its way down inside. Now I'm lifted and slowly drifting. I have to fight this time. Have to fight this time on the outside. Someone left the skylight open. Water made its way down inside. Something left the skylight open. Water made its way down inside.
thick and
Thank
powerful
you.
Thank you,
song, Jeff.
Jeffrey.
That was great.
Woohoo!
Nice job,
That was
Jeff.
awesome.
Thank you very much.
Brandon, can you side by side us just for a second? So thank you, Jeff. Best of luck with your record, everybody. If you're interested in getting a record with a novel that comes with it, his information is in your respective chats. I just want to say this to you. I can feel your heart. I always felt like I could always feel it. It's a beautiful. You're a beautiful soul and a very talented man. But I just think that. I just think that your heart walks down the street in front of you, honestly, and I always felt that way about you. I wish you the best of luck. I'm glad to know you. Thank you for sharing a couple songs with us here. And
The feeling is mutual, though. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate it. So just thanks on that. And let's hear it one more time for Jeff, please. Everybody.
Hey, Jeff,
Thank
that's
you.
great.
Hey, Jeff. Woohoo!
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I
Oh,
so
yeah.
agree with what Sarah
Jeff, is
just
that
said.
only on
Yeah.
vinyl?
Yes, that's a vinyl, right?
Yeah.
Just vinyl?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's vinyl. And then there's also like the website will have a link to on my Bandcamp page. There'll be a way to actually download the music, but also read the record page by page because it's a little small on the record cover. But if you get the vinyl, every record comes with a tiny little magnifying glass to
I was gonna ask that.
It's
actually.
true. And the download code. So
I was going to say that would have been a heck to read on a CD cover.
yeah, right. That's why I didn't do CD this time around.
Explosively creative, wonderful soul. So thank you, Jeff. And so,
Thank you, Don.
You're welcome. So, before we go ahead and Jimmy to just poke up here, can you put us side by side with Jimmy Tingle?
Jimmy.
There he is, right there. Hi, Jimmy.
Hey, Don.
How are you,
Nice
buddy?
to see you again. Great. How are you doing? Podcast last week, and it's going to drop tomorrow, Friday. It'll be on my website at jimmytingle.com, and we're going to send Don a link, and he can blast it out to all you folks. So it's a wonderful interview. It's only about 25, 30 minutes, but it's about Don and his book and his philosophy and the hitchhiking years and how he was able to create the career that he has, being as innovative like he's doing tonight, and how generous he is with the time and the stage and his advice to people like myself and like many of you on the screens tonight. So it's a wonderful interview, and I think you'll really enjoy it. And so thanks, Don, for doing this tonight. And it's great to hear everybody as well. It's really an uplifting event.
I appreciate that. So just so people know, I know Jimmy Tingle for a long time, and him and I, like we just go way back. And I met him. It's okay to say this, right? We talked about it in the podcast. Right after he quit drinking, and but before that, he told me I was standing in Harvard Square drinking out of a paper bag, doing stand up in the rain.
That's Jimmy.
Why don't you do a couple minutes before we shut the stream off?
You sure, Don?
Yeah, just a couple minutes.
Okay, well, I do these essays every week for WBZ. By the way, Don also introduced me to the best tech person in the business, Brandon O'Sullivan, who is doing all the work tonight and has done so many amazing things. And every week, Brandon and we record these little 1-minute essays for WBZ, and they go on Saturday and Sunday. So this is one I wrote today, and I'll just read this for you. You might get a kick out of it. We'll say you heard it here first. How's that?
Yeah.
So let me just pull this up right here.
We're scooping WBZ, right?
Yeah, and it's fun doing AM radio. But it goes to 36 states. So 36 states will hear this tomorrow. All righty. So, folks, the Alabama Supreme Court ruled this week that frozen embryos are now children. Now, Republican presidential candidate Nikki Haley said that to her, frozen embryos are actually babies. Now, I'm not an expert on frozen embryos, but I think it is a bit of a stretch to suggest a frozen embryo is a person. I mean, an embryo has the potential to be a person, but a frozen embryo on its own is not a person any more than a sunflower seed is a sunflower, or a watermelon seed is a watermelon, or grass seed in my wheelbarrow is my new front lawn. To suggest a frozen embryo is a person is like carrying around a knapsack full of acorns and thinking you're in the woods. Even though I appear to be in downtown Boston, in my mind, I'm camping.
Oh, Jimmy.
So that'll run to 36 states tomorrow, Saturday afternoon at 2:25 and at 6:30 in the morning. And then this one will run on Sunday. And this is called Old White Guys.
Okay.
So a lot of people are saying that Joe Biden is an old white guy, too old to be president. But I say because he's teachable and listens to younger people, in his case, with age comes wisdom. The old white guy passed the largest the old white guy just this week said he would forgive an additional $1.2 billion in student debt. The old white guy passed the largest climate change bill in American history. The old white guy passed the largest infrastructure bill since the New Deal. And the old white guy believes in democracy, the rule of law, and is willing to go against Vladimir Putin, a dictator who jails critics, kills political opponents, and crushes free speech. Now, I admit, I like Joe Biden.
Great, Jimmy.
All right, Jimmy.
All right.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So thank you, Don.
Yeah, good luck with the mail you're gonna get from those two things.
That's why I come here, to be refreshed.
I'm probably gonna quit playing music like in my 70s. And then the person said to me, "Well, what are you gonna do then?" I go, "Well, I'm gonna wait another 5 years and run for president."
Oh, you silly guy.
Like 20 minutes or something just to talk and catch up. I don't get to see folks that much. Maybe I'll play another song or so. So those of you, you have very short amount of time to get over here to Zoom if you want to be part of that. Well, actually, you could come anytime. To Jimmy Tingle and to Jeff, just lovely to be able to showcase you all and to see you all. And I hope we're all face to face again. So 3 minutes or so, and I'll be back again if you don't mind helping out the grocery bill. And that information, it will be right up here on the screen. And I'll be back shortly. And if anybody's here, we'll hang up.